Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing part 4 of our Tuff Shed YouTube Studio Kitchen build. We're not only going to update you on the progress of our kitchen right back here, but we're also going to give you a breakdown of how much it's costing us so far. So you ready? Let's get into this. All right here we have all of the plumbing we're going to need for the studio. It's pretty simple, and since we're just doing a kitchen, we don't have to run tons and tons and tons of PEX. We ran some 3/4 inch PVC in from our well right back there. And you can see where it comes in right here. From there, I just converted it into PEX line. And then I broke it down into hot and cold water. The water heater I'm using is just a little 4-gallon job, and it's gonna sit right in here underneath the sink. So it's already gonna be in here before it gets hot. Technically, I only had to run 1 line, but I wanted to be a little bit more organized, so I ran 2. And that's why the hot water just sort of breaks off of a T with the cold water. I didn't really have to do that, but you know what? Why not? Right here I have my drain line. We're not going out the sewer, we're just gonna be doing a French drain system. And I've already completely finished that, so that's ready to go. I teed this off right here so I can put a spigot outside because you know what? Why not? That'll probably come in pretty handy someday. And here's what the spigot looks like outside. And then right here, I got the water supply for the refrigerator. The next step was driving the grounding rods. You can see one right there, and I got the copper line connected to it here. And then we got a second one that's buried right around here someplace. And you can see the copper line going into my service panel right there. I was a little bit worried about driving those grounding rods because they're something like 5/8 of an inch thick and they're 8 feet long. So I was debating how I was gonna drive those down into the ground. And what I decided on after checking a bunch of other creators' YouTube channels was to grab myself a rotary hammer and a grounding rod bit. I thought the process on that was gonna be really slow, but it turned out to be a lot easier than I thought. Getting started was a little bit of a pain in the neck because you kind of got to get up on a ladder for that since it's 8 feet high to begin with. But just using the tool and saturating the hole every so often down at the bottom with some water, it went down pretty easy except for maybe the last couple of feet, in which case I had to throw a little bit of elbow grease into it. But in any case, it only took me about maybe 15 minutes or so to drive both grounding rods. You can see that we got our service line all hooked up into our electrical panel. And this is a Leviton Smart Panel. I've mentioned it before in one of the earlier videos. I got this plexiglass cover on it. You can see all the breakers look really cool. They've got Wi-Fi on them, and they light up for the AFCI and GFCI. All those just kind of go up around here, all around the ceiling, and come down into all of our outlets, all around the studio. Here goes an Ethernet line that I've already run from the Smart Panel to go where my router is gonna be, which is out over here. And here is the internet line running into the house. For that, I had to dig a 150-foot trench all the way up to the house, all the way into the room where I got my internet coming in, which happens to be the farthest possible spot from the studio in the house. That wasn't really too big a deal though, because I'm using direct burial Ethernet cable and you don't really have to dig it that deep. And since it's waterproof, it doesn't have to go into conduit or anything like that. So that was a plus. And as a result, that line is active now. In order to get power to the electrical panel, obviously we had to run a service line all the way over to our house. The service panel on the house is 265 feet away, so we ended up having to use 4/0 mobile home feeder wire. We had to dig that trench 18 inches deep all the way over to the service panel, and then we had to run that line all the way back to the studio inside of a sleeve. Technically, this cable is direct burial. We didn't really have to do that, but I wanted to throw it in the sleeve anyway just to give it a little extra layer of protection. Anyway, after we got that run, all we had to do was bury it, and that would conclude all of the digging of holes that we needed to do in order to get this studio done. I'll tell you what, I don't miss that part at all, because that sucks. We're gonna be using a mini split air conditioning system for the studio. And even though we won't be getting that for another couple of months or so, I went ahead and put the shelf up for it anyway. Sort of high off the ground, but I didn't want to risk our dogs jumping up on the air conditioner or anything like that. That went pretty easy. All you gotta do is just find the studs in the wall. And then in our case, we screwed into 3 of them. After you make sure it's level, all you gotta do is put on the legs. Our instructions said to slide the legs on after you secure the main bar to the wall. But when we did that, the legs couldn't slide onto the thing over the top of the bolt, so we had to take the side bolts back out, slide the legs on, and then stick them back in again. No big deal, but that was obviously a little bit annoying. Next, we had to work on our duct work. There's actually 2 different sections to that. First, we have our exhaust section here, which is gonna hook up right into the top of our range hood. And then we have something over here called a makeup air system. Basically, as air gets evacuated from the range hood, this lets air back in to make up the pressure difference. There's a piece of ductwork in there with an automatic flap that has a sensor that hooks up to the range hood vent. And then when it picks up pressure on the exhaust side, it'll open up the flap on the makeup air system, and that will equalize the pressure. You might see that, for instance, when you have air conditioning or something going on and something that's not balanced. And then you try to open the door when something's turned on and it feels like the door doesn't want to shut because of the air pressure. In this case, you don't have those types of problems. That was a lot more simple than I thought it was going to be. First, I had to drill a couple of holes in the side of the studio. I put these holes probably a little bit closer together than I wanted to, but really it's the only two spots I could put it that it wasn't going to be a big major pain in the neck. But honestly, it shouldn't really be too much of a problem. Anyways, in order to cover those holes, we got these two little stainless steel vents that I picked up. And then to connect to those, we have a variety of galvanized steel pipe and some galvanized steel elbows. Really, all you gotta do is measure a couple of times to make sure your lengths and everything are right. Then really all you gotta do is put them together and use a little bit of duct tape to keep them together. In addition to that, I use a little bit of this vinyl strap, and that'll help stabilize those positions so they don't move around a lot, and also secure them for safety. Right there is the piece for the makeup air system that I was talking about a second ago. I ordered a couple of my fixtures and stuff in. This is my 36-inch Z-line black stainless steel range hood. Right back here we have a pretty cool looking chandelier. These are the LED lights for the ceiling. And then right here I have a wall-mounted pot rack that's going to be going in next to the range hood. See? Looks just like that. Hey, by the way, if this is your first time here and you want to learn some cool new recipes, get some great cooking tips and tricks and all sorts of other kitchen related things, then start now by subscribing to the channel and clicking the notification bell so you never miss a thing. So how much have we spent on the studio so far since starting construction in July? Well, first I had to have the 20x16 concrete slab poured, and that cost me $1,500. Then obviously we had to get the Tuff Shed. I got mine on a 4th of July sale at Home Depot, and at the time they were offering 2 years no interest with minimum payments. What? Provided that I get that thing paid off in the 2 years, which there really isn't any reason why I shouldn't, then the total cost on that is $10,700. In addition to the actual cost of the Tuff Shed, we had some little extra costs for building materials. And that would be the expansion foam, the caulking, the construction adhesive, the joists and hangers that I put in to hang the ceiling from, and also the strapping. For the electrical system, that's pretty much finished now, and I think all the costs associated with it are already done, which includes the cost of the 4/0 service cable, the 500 feet of 14-2, 12-2, 10-2, and 6-3 wire that I had to run all in the inside of the shed to supply power for the air conditioning, the lights, all of the outlets, the 240 volt appliances, and the AC, all of the electrical boxes and receptacles, the Leviton load center, and all of the AFCI, GFCI smart breakers for it. And last but not least, the Amazon Alexa enabled smoke detector. All of that came out to $5,560. I could have spent a lot less on that, but the Leviton stuff was super expensive, and by the time I got into it, I really wanted it, so whatever. Next, we have the cost for the lighting, which is the LED lights, these two coach lights on the outside, and the chandelier. And that so far is $410. Next, we have our plumbing, which is all the shark bite fittings, the PEX, the PVC for the French drain, the spigot outside, and the hookup for the refrigerator. That came in really cheap and under budget so far. That's only $350 so far, but I haven't bought the water heater yet either. Next, we have costs associated with the ventilation, and that would include our Z-line range hood, the galvanized piping, the vent covers, and the parts for the makeup air system. So far, that's $951. Next, we have all the costs for the air conditioning system, and so far all we got right there is the cost of the mini split hanger that I showed you, and the box for the AC disconnect. That's only like $50 right now. The only other costs we have right now are miscellaneous costs. That's the cost of our wall pot rack, our tool purchases that were made specifically for the construction of the shed, which would be the rotary hammer, a circular saw, a drill, our reciprocating saw, some hole saws and bits, a tool belt, a couple of levels and a heavy-duty hammer, tape measure, goggle, gloves, good wire cutters, good wire strippers,
2,000 years later,
tin snips, and a PEX crimper. So all that right there has come out to $958. So far since July, the grand total is $20,479. With a lot to go. When I originally costed this out, the total I came up with was $39,325. And right now I'm projecting that to be about $39,900. So I'm really close on that estimate so far. but we're also still pretty early. Hopefully with any luck, we should have this sucker done in the spring. As you can see, progress is coming along really good on this. Originally, I was estimating about 1.5 years to get this finished, and if we keep progressing the way we are, we're gonna finish ahead of schedule, maybe by about 2 or 3 months. Probably we're gonna be able to do at least some of our recording in here before it gets completely finished, but we may just have to play that by ear. We'll see. If you like this video, then you might like this playlist right here. That's our step-by-step documentation of the entire process broken down into sections. Well, that's it for now. I hope to see you back again here really soon, and until that time, I'm Joe, and I hope you have a phenomenal day. Take it easy.